So, let's talk about AI. It's absolutely everywhere, right? It promises to completely change how we work. But let's get real for a second. Beyond all the hype, how can it actually help with our day-to-day problems without just becoming another complicated thing we have to deal with? Well, today we're going to dive into a human-centered approach that promises to do exactly that.
I mean, does this feel familiar? You keep hearing, you have to adopt AI, you've got to get on board or you're going to be left behind. But for a lot of us, it just feels like one more pressure, Another complex piece of tech to figure out when our plates are already overflowing.
And that really brings us to the heart of the matter. There's this massive gap between the wild, futuristic promises of AI and the actual, on-the-ground reality for most schools, businesses, and organizations. This right here nails the dilemma perfectly. Of course, leaders want the help that AI can offer, but they are and should be nervous about steep learning curves, potential security risks, and frankly, all the buzzwords that don't actually lead to real results. So let's cut through all that and talk about the real world. Let's talk about the specific things that this technology is supposed to be solving. I mean, what are those daily headaches, those bottlenecks that actually slow you and your team down? And when you look at it, the struggles are so similar, aren't they? You've got a school principal just buried in paperwork, trying to make sense of all this student data. At the same time, a small business owner is stuck dealing with manual processes and clunky onboarding for new hires. Different fields, sure, but the root problems are the same. Way too much manual work, never enough time, and tight budgets that just can't handle expensive one-size-fits-all software.
And that really highlights what everyone is actually looking for. It's not about some magical AI that's going to do everything for us. It's about finding tools that are simple, quick, and that you can trust. Tools that feel more like a super efficient assistant, designed to support real people doing their jobs, not to replace them. So, if that's what everybody needs, then what does a solution that gets that actually look like? Well, let's explore a completely different kind of answer.
Now, this is what makes this approach so different. It's where it comes from. This isn't a solution that was dreamed up in some tech hub by a team that only speaks code. It was founded by an educator and administrator, someone who has literally been in the trenches and lived these exact problems. That changes the entire game.
And this is the mission. Every single word here matters. Supercharge efficiency. That's the goal. Human-centered. That's the how. But honestly, the most important part? That actually work. That's the promise. And it's a direct response to all the hype that just hasn't delivered. So what do we really mean by human-centered AI? It's not just a cool-sounding phrase. It means the technology is built to serve you, not the other way around. Think of it like a bridge, connecting the massive, sometimes overwhelming potential of AI directly to the specific, focused things your team actually needs to get done.
Okay, so this all sounds great in theory, right? But how does it happen in the real world? This is where the process itself is a huge advantage, because it's all about speed and making something that's just for you. The whole process is really straightforward and, most importantly, collaborative. First, there's an AI workflow audit to zero in on your single biggest pain point. Then comes this process called vibe coding, which is basically building a tool really fast, right there with your team to make sure the vibe is perfect. And finally, it gets deployed so real people can start using it and giving feedback right away. Now just let that sink in for a second. 3 to 7 days. We are not talking about months or a year-long development project. We're talking about identifying a huge problem on a Monday and, well, maybe having a custom-built solution for it by Friday. It's incredible. So what are these tools we're talking about? They're not giant, complicated platforms. They're what you might call micro-apps. Small, laser-focused tools for very specific jobs. Imagine a dashboard for a school that instantly turns confusing assessment data into easy-to-read charts. Or a tool for your business that listens to a meeting and automatically pulls out all the action items. Small, sharp, and incredibly useful.
Okay, so let's tie this all together. What really makes this approach stand out from the sea of other tech solutions out there? It really all starts right here. The solutions are so effective because they're built by people who have deep, first-hand knowledge of your world. They don't need a crash course on the challenges of running a school or a small business. They already get it.
Then there's the pace. That 3 to 7 day deployment, that is an absolute game changer. It means you can solve problems almost as fast as they appear instead of waiting forever for a tool that might be obsolete by the time you get it. And naturally, when you're that fast and that focused, it costs a lot less. We are not talking about massive enterprise-level software contracts here. This makes powerful, custom-built AI actually accessible to organizations that probably thought it was totally out of their league. So you take that deep expertise, you add that incredible speed, and you combine it with affordability. What do you get? You get a foundation of trust. You're not just buying a product, you're partnering with an expert who truly understands your world and is focused on helping you succeed. So, with all that in mind, if you're feeling that pressure but you want a real practical solution, what's the actual next step?
I love this line because it's so simple and so powerful. It's all about cutting through the noise, ignoring the buzzwords, and just delivering tools that make a real, immediate difference in your workday. So, I'll ask you to really think about that for a second. What is the single biggest bottleneck in your day? You know, that one repetitive, time-sucking task that you just wish would disappear? Now, imagine having a custom tool for that exact thing in about a week.
Well, the path to that solution starts right here with a totally free AI Workflow Audit. It's a simple, practical first step to figure out exactly where a human-centered AI tool can make the biggest impact for you and your team. No pressure, no hype. Thanks for watching.